All right, Ian, thanks so much for coming on, man. I appreciate you taking the time. If you could just introduce yourself, your name, where you're from, your position, how old you are, and where you're currently playing.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for having me, by the way. My name is Ian Garrett. I'm from Kalamazoo, Michigan, in the United States. Born and raised there. I'm 25 years old. I'm a left back, left midfielder for KTP in the Finnish Veikkausliiga, the top tier. And yeah.
Sounds good, man. Yeah, let's dive in a little to your youth career when you started playing. Did you play youth football in Michigan?
Yeah. I have a long history of football in my family. My dad was a professional soccer player, professional soccer coach in America in like the 80s and 90s. Back then, there was mostly like pro indoor going on a little before MLS started. It was like after like like the New York Cosmos and stuff. Those kind of leagues died down. Um, so he was when soccer for American players back then was really not a huge deal, not a big sport at all. But he was one of the few American guys to kind of get to like the professional ranks, and but anyway, played a few years in the pros, and then coached a little bit in the pros, and then when he retired, he opened up indoor soccer facilities in Michigan, and he basically had about 6 of them, and then he merged with another business, and now he part owns and he runs like maybe 24 of them all over
Wow.
the United States. So
Wow.
I didn't really have much of a choice when it came to
you probably have a lot of good training
but
facilities in the off season, man.
no doubt. I was very, very fortunate to have that type of stuff, especially in Michigan. It's a lot like Scandinavia, a lot of snow and stuff. So, but yeah, so already was into soccer before I was even born, really. And when I was about 4, I think my parents put me into like little soccer football camps, in these facilities and stuff that my dad owned. And I think until I was about 7, I didn't quite really enjoy it. I was scared, it wasn't really my thing. And then I started watching like football with my dad, in America back then. There wasn't a ton of football on TV. You'd have like, Manchester United and Arsenal and maybe Real Madrid, Barcelona, and then like the Mexican League, those types of things were on TV. And
those Saturday and Sunday mornings.
Right, exactly. And just like that was what was on TV. And so, I got my passion from, my dad and stuff, who was watching it, being really into it and watching these huge teams play. And I really, like, when I was about 7, got into it like full on. I was all in and had so much passion for it, just training and playing all the time, and really set myself apart, I think, from like a lot of the young kids at that age, just because of that. And
where do you think that spark came from? Just from the watching the games and then seeing what other players are doing?
Yeah. It's funny. I can actually pinpoint, like, in my brain, like, moments that I like where I like where it clicked. And like, for example, like watching, I think it was, I was watching a Real Madrid game with my dad, and it was like, the original Galacticos, original Ronaldo, Figo, Beckham, Zidane, all those guys. It's just like a team full of stars. It's anybody, even a casual fan, is going to be like, oh, let's watch this team play for sure. Like they got them. And I just remember my dad being so passionate about, oh, this guy's this player, is this Ronaldo? Watch him. You know what I mean? And I think a little bit of just like, as a kid, you want to like be like your dad a little bit, and you're like, oh wow, he's really into this. This is awesome. And like, and like, it kind of like inspires you a little bit. And I just remember, like, from that moment on, I was like, I was in. And so I think the passion comes from my dad, but like, he was, I say like I was forced into it, but I really wasn't. Like, my parents were very, very nice with me about, like, you can do whatever you want. Like no one's going to force you into do anything. And I think that's part of the reason I found such a natural love for the game.
For sure.
Because it's just like I wasn't forced into it. I was allowed to find it myself. And I think that's especially with young players, I think like you got to have a love for it. And thankfully I was allowed to find that and continue.
No, that's a great point, man. It's something I was talking about with a guy I had on yesterday, and a lot of friends that I talk with it about. And, I think, like you said, being forced into something, I think a lot of now we see players, they're forced into it by their parents. Maybe they see they have some talent. They're forced to play a lot of games and train a lot between like ages, I would say maybe 10 to 15. And then burnout occurs, and that's the last thing that I think, we want, for American footballers. Like you said, I think you need to find that deep intrinsic why, that deep intrinsic love of the game. And like you said, that'll push you forward.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think I was talking about this with my dad, like, a year ago or so when I would go out and train on like the pitches, like in the off season or whatever. Every once in a while, my dad would just like old time's sake come and just like play some balls to me and just like still helping out in his like retirement days now, pretty much. But in terms of coaching and whatnot, but there's always like you'll see like a coach and with like a really young kid, like every single day running them through hard drills and stuff like that. And I'm like, that parents, they got that kid in that and like they're doing that. And my dad always says like they'll be out of the game by 15 and they'll hate it. They'll just, and it's like because they haven't got the love for it and like the passion, like, oh, I'll go outside and I'll go to the training ground myself. I'll go in the backyard, whatever the situation is. Like they have to love it. And I think if they're forcing it, they end up hating it. And it's unfortunate, but
of course. No, I think that non-structured play is huge. Like you said, just, going into your backyard, playing by yourself, shooting on a goal, even in your living room, touching the ball, all that stuff we could all think back to. And that's what really made us fall in love with the game. And I always go back to that when I have younger players like ask me, what I do or what other players do when you feel nervous before games. And I always just say, go back to your 8, 9, 10-year-old self. Why'd you get into the game? And then hopefully it's because you loved it and you try to tune into that and really get into that. Easier said than done.
Yeah. Yeah. I really agree with you. Yeah, I think you always have to have a love for the game. If you don't, then like, I don't think why would you do it? Like, there's nothing wrong with not loving football and wanting to be in it. It's just like, but I think you have to love it to try and make something of it. I think it shouldn't just be like I see Cristiano Ronaldo's Instagram posts and I want that type of car, or I want to have all those followers or whatever it is. Like it's not that simple. You don't just be like, oh, okay, I'll just do it. I'll just do what he did. I'll just take that job. Like it's not. You got to be able to like every day want to go work and train more and play and all that sort of stuff.
No, 100%. And that's a big reason I also have this podcast and do these interviews, because I want to show younger guys and girls who, who do love it and are pursuing the dream of being professional that, I mean, if you're not, if you haven't grown up in the Real Madrid academies in Barcelona and you're chasing it on your own, it's not going to be, sunshines and rainbows. There are so many ups and downs. And then what I always get into with people is, I think you have to have the ability to deal with the lows to really enjoy the highs. And, unfortunately, there are a lot of lows, but if you can deal, the highs are.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. I think, it's, especially I think coming from the background that you and I have both come from in terms of like growing up in America, you play a lot of like youth soccer, like you said, and, you come to Europe, like very, very few Americans come to Europe at any level. And it's not immediately what you think it's going to be like, or what it's pictured to be like.
Yes.
you don't hop off the plane in Manchester or whatever, and just someone drives you to Old Trafford, and you know what I mean, and like there's 70,000 fans screaming your name. It's
Yeah.
not like that at all. You honestly, I think you have to earn your respect and
Love that.
every level and stuff like that. I think that would be a little bit different. I was gonna you mentioned my like journey and stuff like that. I was gonna get into it a little bit more, but
Yeah, for sure. I just like to
yeah,
get off on these tangents. I don't really like a structured.
no worries, no worries.
Yeah,
No, but I can come back to that
for
that
sure.
point about the ups and downs for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so I was 7, really got into football, and when I was playing in like the small like youth clubs in my city, my dad was
Mm,
always very present. Like I said, he was a coach of mine up until I
that's
was
awesome.
I went to high school, of course, I think, and played like high school football in America,
Mm,
and that's like it's like college football in America. So like you have just like a couple month season, if that, and it's a bunch of games.
mm,
And that was like the first time I had another coach
mm,
than my dad, and so I was really lucky in a way, but also it's different. It's tough. Like you're not used to change and these sort of obstacles. I was kind of a little bit sheltered in that way because I never had my dad not as the coach, and you know what I mean.
mm-hmm.
And it's as the joke goes, oh, he's the coach's son. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
of course he's
yeah.
like, I mean, I was good enough to play, but like it was it was different having a different viewpoint of mine. And so I went to high school, and I'm so like I was very small when I first got into high school, like
Mm-hmm.
very late bloomer. I was able to play varsity and stuff like that, but not play. You know what I mean? Like just be part of the team. I had enough
Mm-hmm.
ability to be on the team, but like just in terms of like you have as a freshman going up against seniors that are like fully
Mm-hmm.
developed men, and it's just I wasn't there. And still, that was kind of a story for a lot of my youth career, just like being technically good enough because didn't have this physique and stuff like that. I had to work on all those technical things. My dad was very very much adamant about training the technical ability and stuff like that,
Mm.
um, and drilling that into me so like I could perform it once I did have the physical attributes at that level, just even more so.
For sure.
But
And
anyway,
that's a
so
big
up
thing, the
until
difference
go on.
between that's a big thing, the difference between, at that time, of course, hopefully it's changing now.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between just American football and European football. European football, it's about technique, it's about positioning, it's about finding the space, correct decision making. And unfortunately in the US, it's about who's bigger, who's faster, who's stronger. So that's
Right.
interesting, man. And I'm sure that's why you're succeeding in Europe and having fun with it. And I think that's that factor in the US was your size, but it actually helped you in the long run. That your
Mm-hmm.
dad emphasized that technique.
I couldn't agree more. I think you're totally right about the difference between American football or American
Mm-hmm.
soccer and European
Yeah.
football. Uh, the uh, the biggest difference I saw as soon as I came to Europe was everybody could trap and pass and control a ball out of the air with one touch.
Mm-hmm.
Like you
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Like, and there was way less of this just bomb the ball in
Yes.
behind, have your guys sprint
Yeah.
after it,
Boot it
and
forward.
yeah, exactly. There was way less of it, and I felt I was so much more useful. Like it just
Yes.
just like, oh, I'm actually able to like get on the ball more and this sort of thing. But
Mm.
yeah, but anyway, I unfortunately I agree with you. The especially at like not the like if you go to like when I was sorry, I'll continue, but the when I was like 14, 15, my team, my like youth team, we kind of stayed together from when I was about 11 to 16. We had all done, my dad was my coach, all done that like training, technical training. We were always the small team and stuff like that. And we saw ourselves being able to, as we got more mature, just like be able to surpass these teams that were historically way better than us in the state of Michigan. And got to a point where we're like, wow, we saw the benefits of all this technical training and all this stuff like that. We were better than all these guys once we matched them physically, like once we all kind of got more developed and everything. And you really could see it firsthand that how much of a difference that makes. Anyway, so when I turned 16, I had felt that like, you know, regular club soccer or whatever was kind of, if I wanted to do something with football, I needed to move on somewhere. And so I was trying to join the academy program and that was going on then in the United States. And I was in Michigan. So I was trying to, the ones that were in Michigan were on the other side of the state, like 2-hour drive. So I was like, that was tough for me. And then I was like, well, what about some residential ones? Maybe if I could go to school. I was going to be a senior in high school. So I was like, maybe I could do my senior year at one of these academies. So the ones in America at the time were Shattuck St. Mary's in Minnesota and then IMG Academy. And what are you going to choose, Minnesota weather or the Florida weather? Like, which one are you going to
My dumbass chose the Minnesota weather. I did 1 year at Shattuck.
Right. No, I honestly, I went there and it was a really, really cool, like, just like the training and like, what I was looking for. What I was looking for. And honestly, I thought it probably was higher level than the IMG Academy one, just in terms of like the professionalism and everything.
That's interesting.
Anyway, I went to IMG Academy. No doubt, like most amazing facilities, and like if you want to get inspired to train and do stuff every day, like go to a place like that. It's like you have 20 of the best pitches in the entire country and state of the art gyms and everything. Like you have everything you could possibly want. And it was a very good experience and a bad experience for me because I had never been away from home. As like I said, I had a high school coach that was different from my dad, but never like faced adversity, let's say, in a real sense. And so away from home, you know, new coach, you know, he's not the same like personality as my dad. You know, my dad was, you know, one of those coaches that like never screamed from the sideline, you know, wait till you get into the huddle to change things and just like small things like that. And then you got a coach that's, you know, he's not the same way and he demands more on the pitch. And I wasn't ready for that mentally. I was too immature to handle that sort of thing. And it was good because if I didn't have that like sort of change to my mentality, I would never be able to go anywhere with football. Like I would just never would have been able to handle you know, any sort of adversity in my life.
For sure.
I had such a great upbringing, and like it's so blessed the amount of like love and care and like support I've gotten as a kid. But like in terms of your football, I never really experienced any adversity to push me and like make me better. And so I went there.
That's awesome that you recognize that. I think.
Yeah.
I think being able to recognize that is the big thing. And you know, as we're going to hear, I'm sure it was, like you said, it's a big teacher and a wake up call.
Yeah, it's for sure. I would, you know, like I don't want to get into too much to it, but I mean, like, you know, just like, you know, you're homesick. And then like also when it's like one thing, it's like you ask me, I'm sure that you're the same way. What's the one thing that you go, like you fall back on when things aren't going well on the outside and on your regular life? It's football. It's like, oh, it's like, at least I know I can go on the pitch for an hour and a half or whatever and just like forget about all my problems. And it's like my problems follow me onto the pitch out there. Like I'm getting yelled at and you know, I'm scared to make mistakes because I feel like I'm more scared to make mistakes because if I make a mistake, I get yelled at. I'm not playing because I want to do well. I want to score. I want to make an impact. I'm playing to not make a mistake. And that's like the worst thing I could do. It's to like stunt it. But
Mm-hmm.
And
No, that's very
you know,
interesting because I would just to go on a quick one. I was actually thinking when you were talking about how your dad was always your coach, and I think one of the biggest things that is honestly under talked about for development, especially as a youth player, is having that support from the coach where you can show your best. You can take risks, you can express yourself on the pitch, you can do things without being yelled at. I think that one of the
hmm
worst things, and I'm sure you've seen it in Europe. I've seen it on many of my teams in Europe. A lot of the older guys yell at the younger guys for trying to express themselves, and it stunts their growth. So, uh, did you feel that really helped your development and your ability to express yourself as a young kid?
yeah. My to go back to what you said about like having that coach or whatever to let you do that. My dad has always been a supporter of someone that's a creative player that wants to try things. Like if you look at
Awesome.
these, he always would make this point of like if you make this, if you look at the best players on the planet, who's anyone he asked the favorite players to watch. Oh, Messi, Neymar, Cristiano, especially when he was at United. Like why is they so fun to watch? Because they try things. They take players on. They play with flair, and they like and as my dad always said, like they inspire. Like they inspire players,
Hmm.
and like there's always like a kind of thing I remember my dad saying is like play to inspire, and it's like that's what that meant. It's just like
Love that.
you play to like anybody that's watching be like wow, they sit up out of their chair and say oh who's that guy like you know what I mean and
Love
just
that.
and he was very much adamant about that type of player because who's gonna you can all play simple passes, connect all your passes and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But if it's 0-0 game, who's gonna win it for you? It's the guy that's
Hmm.
willing to take a risk and change the game and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
it's a quality that unfortunately I think go back to the American thing is coached out of players a little bit,
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
little too much, especially in the past. I think you see players like now Christian Pulisic. It's you have that player for the United States that's
Yes.
um, he is willing to run at players to take them on to try and dribble them and be creative, and that's everybody
Hmm.
watches like who's the best American player, who's the
Hmm.
most fun one to watch. Christian Pulisic.
Yeah.
Everyone will say it. So like
Hmm.
I think it serves him right to play that way.
Hmm.
But yeah. Uh, so yeah.
Yeah. So
Sorry,
what were
Mike.
you
Get back to
saying?
the
Back to
question.
your journey.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, man. But
No worries. No
yeah,
worries.
back to the journey on the pitch at IMG.
Yeah. So it was tough for me, and I finished there, and I in my senior year, and I was like, I'm not like I felt not confident enough to try and see if I could go play college somewhere. I was still a young physically, like not developed
Hmm.
enough, like just quick, but just like physically not able to like I don't think play with those at a high level in college. Because it was so physical and all these sort of things. But so I was like, I want to play academy again. Didn't have the greatest experience at IMG. Maybe I can figure something else out. Maybe
Hmm.
go to one of these places that were closer to my home and maybe see if I could commute.
Hmm.
Um, I went to Chicago Fire Academy, and that was like
Hmm.
like one of the best academies. You have such a base of players in Chicago, especially from a lot of these Hispanic communities where football is just huge, and just like it makes it such a good level of like players.
Hmm.
I think also when we talk about players in America and how you have to pay a lot to play,
Hmm. Hmm.
and these MLS academies were the ones that were making it there's no fee. Like if you're good enough, you can get signed, like and just like you can do it. And I think
Hmm.
especially in these communities where that was tough, it was great. And so you see these players come out of that and create a team like in that like I had in Chicago that was quality all over the pitch. Like if you want to look at it now, you have Georgi Mihalovic, who plays for Montreal Impact. He went straight from the academy
Hmm.
to the first team. Mauricio
Wow.
Pineda, who plays for Chicago Fire first team now. Cameron Lindley, he went
Hmm.
to where does he play now? I think in Austin now, or no, San
San
Antonio.
Antonio, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Andrew Gutman, who was signed by Celtic and then like loaned to Cincinnati or something. I don't know where he plays exactly now, but like you have players that like all those guys that like are coming out of I think Ryan Sarakowski was drafted as well and stuff like that. Just like all the players all over the pitch that were like just how many players you think from one team, from one academy team that like have made it to the professional ranks at a good level.
That's crazy.
So like definitely a good team. And I would go to those trainings, 2 hours there, 2 hours back. I'd drive myself. And every single day I knew the training level, the players around me were going to be such a good level that it was worth my time. Yeah. And like, I never like drove there and was like, oh man, I got to make this drive again. It's like, oh, I'm going there to have a great session. And so
with that being said, how was the standard, like, you know, that you would compare at IMG compared to the guys at the Fire, like the way that the guys went into the training, the mindset, the intensity, how was that different?
I would say, so like IMG is an amazing place, but it's a private school. It's a business. And so there's a lot of players or parents that send their kids from all over the world, that sends their kids there to be part of if they're from a different country, to go to a school in America, like go to high school in America, and they have a lot of money and they can send their kids there. And yeah, okay, so they're from these countries where football is the main sport. And so yeah, they're into it. They've played a lot growing up, but are they really serious about trying to play football somewhere? Like it's a lot of times it's not. And so you have like you have a group of, you know, 5 or 6 players that are truly there to get better and get somewhere and move on from this and take this as a stepping stone onto something better. And then you have a lot of players that are not really so concerned about that. And they may be good players, but that type of mentality I think was missing a little bit. And I think at Chicago Fire, every single one of those players pretty much, especially in the starting 11 and maybe first, and like a lot of the guys on the bench, they had the mentality like, oh, I'm trying to play. I'm trying to play for the first team. Like I'm trying to make it to the MLS. Like I'm trying to get there. Like they all have this mentality. And I think that's part of the reason, if you see so many players from that team that are playing somewhere now. And, you know, it was definitely a difference. Like you said, we didn't have the coach he was way more tactical than what I had in the past, especially with my dad, and stuff like that. But, you know, it's a higher level team. It's everything. It's like, there's more to it. And, but you know, there was still that ability to play the way you should play. He had a lot of very good technical players on that team, and they knew that he was going to get the best out of them if he could let them play. And, you know, and so we did well, and we won the national championship. And like, you know, it was, you know, we were so, I think, confident in ourselves, and the coach was confident in us. He used to let us just like tell him how he thinks we should play. And we'd have like a discussion before we go in, and be like, yeah, okay, I think you're right. Maybe he may make a few points or whatever, and be like, no, let's do it. And we'd have such confidence going into games, and it worked out for us. But you know, and then so that happened, and after that finished, I was like, I still don't want to go from this. I don't want to go from this, like where it's like so good technical, to go play college soccer somewhere, even if it's a pretty decent college. I'm playing. First of all, I was not a great student. I was, you know, school really was tough for me to like focus on and like really enjoy or get something out of. And so like, you know, my grades were not where they needed to be to like, you know, get into a lot of schools. And along with the fact that I felt like I was going to play for 2 months or whatever, and then I got to sit in class for the rest of the year, like that's not ideal for me. And so I was like, what other options are there? What can I do? Is there any way I can play somewhere? Can I find something else? And I was like, the only thing that was available at that point was, oh, maybe go and play pro indoor. And so I was like, okay, I'll go. What's the closest place to me? St. Louis. I'll drive to St. Louis, go to an open tryout, and you know, like just like you know, you never know what goes on at open tryouts. I'm sure as you've been to before, it's you know, it could be just a money grab, just like, are they really looking for players, like all these sort of things. and I did well, and I got signed playing there, and it was different because I'm playing with like actual like men. But in terms of like the professionalism at the time, I think they've done a lot better now. I think it was not super professional. It's more like semi-professional in terms of like, you got paid per game, and you'd so like for me, like I was youngest on the team by probably like 6-7 years. I was like 19 at the time, and so like for me, I was like never in the lineup, never physically ready to handle that sort of thing, and training, it was just like, it was good for me, but tough. It's just to go from the place I was in Chicago, the environment I was, to that, it was tough. And so I was like, again, now I've played professional. College route is, unless I wanted to go like NAIA or something, was off limits. And still wasn't that interested in really doing that. I was like, what can I do? Can I go to Europe? Can I do this? Looking into options, and basically went to a combine, a PSC combine in Chicago.
Yeah, I know those.
And they had, and so again, they never know what's going on in those things. It's it's tough to get seen in those types of situations. But anyway, there was a coach that was in Sweden, and he was building this type of like team of like in like Division 4, which is 6th tier in Sweden. And it was just like, maybe we can bring some American players in here to get the, see if they want to go experience. We're just starting it. There's nothing. It's just getting off the ground, all sort of things. And I was like, hey, like I don't know what else there is, but like I can go give it a shot for 3 months. Like let me go try and play in Europe. And
for sure.
And it was it's in terms of like getting the shock that you need, and like the going from IMG Academy, which is like the best facilities, and it's up there in the world probably, but it's like, in America, it's really, really, really good. And I go from that, like you're in a nice dorm, and you got, nutritionists everywhere. You get, it's beautiful weather, to going to in Sweden, like we showed up, and we basically all of us had to sit in like a little shack together, like 6 of us in a shack. There was a mattress on the floor, 2 bunk beds, a pull-out couch, and you had to share it with another guy, and like crammed in this one thing. We all had our our football gear and stuff in there, so it's like it stinks. It's like everything. And it was just like, what did I get myself into? And
the European grind.
Yeah, exactly. Like this isn't where I was. I was in my parents' house, and eating a home cooked meal like a week ago, and where am I now? And I couldn't even find this city on the map if you asked me a week ago. Like it's like,
what city was it?
It was Örebro, but
okay.
Yeah, so it's actually a big city in Sweden. Great city. Yeah. It's just it's actually a very nice place. But it's Division 6 or 6th tier, football. So like, what do you think the living situation is going to be like in that situation? And eventually we get into some more apartments, but it's like, it's just a mattress and a kitchen, with a couple roommates, and nothing special for sure, and nothing that I was used to. And you had to go training on a park pitch every day. It's muddy. It's the ball bounces up on you, and hits off your knee, and you lose it, and so it's frustrating. And you're training with like a good group of foreign players that are trying to do something with football, but mixed in with a group of local guys that like go to the local university and stuff like that. And so like the level of your trainings aren't going to be as high as you want them to. The resources for the players aren't going to be what you think it would be. And like, you're basically taking care of yourself for the most part. And so at the end of the 3 months, the visa's going to end as an American in Sweden. And almost all the players, all the other guys, like, all right, I'm done with this, I'm going home. And I was like, I want to stay. I want to train more. I want to see what I can do with this. Like, keep going.
Mm-hmm.
I was, and I was able to start training with the Örebro Esko, the top team in the entire city, the Allsvenskan, like the their big club. I was able to train with their under 21s, and like, in the stadium on the nice turf pitch, and you know what I mean, like I had my own training gear, like everything, and I was like, this is like what I needed to give me that little taste of like, oh yeah, this is what you're shooting for. And I was like, I need to stay. This training is going to be good for me. It's just like, I'll stay the extra 3 months. I'll play the games with this team and stuff, like train as much as with these guys as I can. And so I did that. I got a residence visa. We sorted it out and everything so I could stay. And I ended up, this is what I wanted to, when we were talking earlier about the mentality of like, older players with younger stuff like that. I remember I got to go train with the first team for the first time. And these are like real pros. They play against, players from Malmo and stuff like that, every single week. And it's like, they're really quality. I'm not a big guy in general. And then especially when I was 19, it's like, I wasn't physically developed, and you walk into the locker room and each one of these, especially these Swedish guys, they're like Vikings, you know what I mean? Like they're like, like 6'5" and in the gym every few days, like, like they look the part. And I remember like, I was like, okay, I'll just it's just like in America, go introduce yourself, all these sort of things, just
Exactly.
right, you know what I mean? Like you just you do the American personality, friendly. You go, hey, how you doing? My name's Ian. Nice to meet you. Like whatever. Like, yeah.
And then like, who the hell is this guy?
Right. I walked around, just trying to like greet people, like shake their hand or whatever. Some of them wouldn't even look at me. Like they just if I walk by, like just like, you're not even human, man. Like you're like,
exactly. It's like an ant.
It's like, who's this kid walking in here? Like, doesn't even speak our language. Like what even, like, like what's the point? And I was it's funny because I was like, it kind of like shocked me of like, oh, these guys are professionals. Like these guys they want to win. This is some kid that's coming to take their job, maybe. Like, you know what I mean? They don't know. Like they don't care about you. They don't you are competition to them. They're fighting for a paycheck every single training session.
Exactly.
And that's part of the reason they're at that level, like because they have that mentality. And and so like I just remember that being like, whoa, like I never experienced anything like this. Like been in America, and like even in this, when I was training in Division 6, there's no like that type of mentality or whatever. It's completely different. I remember even like there was another American on the team at the time, and I was like, oh, another American, I'll go introduce myself to him. And it's pretty much the same thing. I was like, hey man, how you doing or whatever. He's like, good or whatever. And I was like, where are you from? And he was like, America, and just like walked away. And I just like,
really?
And I was like, oh, I was like, okay, like it's again, like it's nothing, I don't think, personal against it. It's just like it's more like, you might be coming to take my job. I can't let you do that. I'm not gonna be friends with you. I'm not gonna. You have to, and then I was gonna say, you have to earn their respect. Like you have to go do it on the pitch, and you have to go, show them or give them a reason to respect you. Like you're not just gonna get it by the fact you walked into the same locker room as them. And and I kept training and stuff like that. I wasn't ready to play at that level. In terms of like the physicality, the tactical things, all that sort of stuff you needed to be at that level. I wasn't ready. And so at the end of the season, I went back home and I went to go play pro indoor again in the winter. And then I was training and like stuff like that, and it was basically the same situation I was in the year before. And I was like, I can't. I've gone from this, like this level or whatever to like training at like Allsvenskan level or whatever
Yeah.
to like back to this pro indoor. It's not professional, all these sort of stuff. And it just like, it hurt. And it's like, I got to do everything possible to get back to Europe, get back into these environments, see if I can be more in a professional environment than I was the previous season. And I was like, how do I do that? See, maybe I can find an agent. Who do I know? Who do we have contacts with? I go to, in Chicago, there's a, excuse me, there's a training group called Bridges, and they had a lot of, and so contacting people there, and like, who do they use for agents and stuff when they go to Europe? And I was like, okay, I got this guy's number now. Talk to him. He was like, yeah, I mean, I live in Finland. If you can get here, basically, you pay your own way, you get here. So like, I can get you a trial with the local club and, you know, third tier in Finland. And I was like, I got nothing else. Let's go. Let's do it. Book the flight, go there, train there. Ended up signing. And it was just like, you know, you're playing in a real stadium, like everything. It's just like stuff that like back in America, like you don't really get too much. I mean, more so now, you have a lot of more soccer specific stadiums and stuff like that in America. But, you know, it was definitely like nice to be in that environment, and just like a small town in the northern part of Finland, in a city called Vasa. I played for Vasa IFK, and good experience. I played the season there. And next season I tried to make a step up.
Did the club help you out with the visa?
Yeah. The club had to help me out with the visa. You know, you have to do certain things like, you know, clubs don't have a lot of money in these levels, so you have to do certain things like, you know, work coaching jobs and all these sort of things. Find ways you can, you know, you can get in there in the door and like earn sort of like a visa, because it's like, it's hard for a foreign player to like get paid what we're supposed to get paid like legally to do it. And you know, it's a sacrifice you have to make. You got to know that like, I'm not going to go here and I'm not going to be, they're not going to give me the team doesn't have an Audi sponsorship and they just give you a car and you roll up to training every day, and you know, you don't get a huge mansion with it. It's not like that. It's, you know, like, yeah, maybe we can help you find an apartment. Yeah, this is where we train. Like, here's a bike. Like, you know what I mean? Like these sort of things. And it's, once
again, that's a big reason I have this podcast, man, because I think, you know, guys and girls listening, I think the key point that we should hear from your story is, when you saw an opportunity, you jumped on it. And that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, you always got to make the best of it. And you know, we'll hear the rest of your story afterwards, but you seem to have done so. And just like we pointed out before in the beginning of the conversation, you look at guys like Ronaldo, Benzema, all these top guys on Instagram showing their Rolexes, their Lamborghinis. And, you know, you have the dream of going to Europe and making that money. And at the end of the day, you know, instead of a Lambo, you get a bike. Instead of the mansion, you get a room and apartment. So it's like always making the best of it. And I think trying to go into it with like even keel expectations, like Kobe always used to say, which I love, instead of high or low. I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, it's funny. I think social media in general, like, it portrays this image of like, people always kind of on social media say it like it makes everything look better than it really is. And
people are flexing.
Yeah, of course. And you say people like Benzema like has like a crazy like Instagram
but he
video.
Can, man. That guy buries goals, man. Him, Ibra, all those guys.
Yeah. That's what you should look at it as. It's like, Benzema can do that because he plays for Real Madrid and he's the goal scorer and he's the man for the number 9 for Real Madrid. That's what he's gotten from it. And it's like, it's far and in between, you know, playing and just like, you know, getting a couple euros or whatever to play on Sunday, like for a local team. It's like, it's not the same thing. And you know, it's difficult. You take it, and like you said, taking opportunities when they're presented to you, like, I think, sorry to keep going back to my family and stuff like that, but they've been so supportive of me in terms of like, when I have an opportunity, they're like, you need to go for it while you're young. Like,
Love that.
yeah, like you can, in terms of a lot of people, especially in the United States, would be like the role is, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to get a degree, I'm going to get a job, I'm going to pay off my student loans. Like, this is like what just has been
Typical
ingrained to
path.
us. Yeah. And I think, like, it's my family, my sister as well, my older sister, she a big time dancer and choreographer and stuff like that. When she was 18, she didn't go to university, she didn't do that. She moved to Los Angeles and tried to make it as a dancer and stuff like that, and my parents are very supportive. And it's the same thing, I think, with me. And as soon as I moved out or whatever, they were like, yeah, go do it, like, follow your dreams, go for it. Like, you're not gonna, when you don't want to be, like I said, you don't want to be 10 years from now, 30 some years old or whatever, and be like, man, I really wish I would have gone for it back then. I wish I would have done what I wanted to do. And
I always say something very similar, something my stepdad always said to me. You can be a doctor, a lawyer, a dentist, whatever you want to be at any age, but you can't always be a footballer, because we're not always going to be this fit, this young. And at the end of the day, you can't buy back time. You could always earn more money.
That's a good point. I like that bit at the end. It's true. You only have, like, if you look at most professional careers, like even the really good ones, they last like 10, 15 years. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like from, you're 18, 20 or whatever to you're 33, 35, whatever it is, you know what I mean? And if you're playing at a high level throughout that, that's amazing. Like, you're in some crazy percent, like, to be able to do that. And if you don't go for it, like, you're not gonna find out if you could or not. And you're right about, like, becoming a doctor, a lawyer, stuff like that. I mean, I always saw what, like, going to school and stuff like that. That stuff's always gonna be there. Like, there's people that graduate from university when they're 80 and stuff like that. Like, you can always go to school. Yeah. Like, it's always gonna be there. And
can't be on the cane playing football with your cane on the football pitch.
Exactly. But so I think that's a good point about going for it when you have the chance. And but yeah, I went to from the team in the third tier, and I took a step up to second tier in Finland, a team called Yarrow, and it's just like a hour drive, maybe less, north, small town. That was just only about football. That was the only sport team there. And the team was very ambitious about getting to the next to the top tier, and they signed a lot of big name players and, like, good form players. A guy named Christopher Mandiangu played, Bundesliga 2, youth German national team, like, obviously has a lot of quality. Players like Darwin Chavez, who played with the Mexican national team, won the Olympics with them back in 2011, I think it was. But these big name players and just more foreign players that, like, stuff like that. And, there's a foreign player rule for how many you can field at a time. And for me, I felt good enough to be in the starting 11. But, I had to be better than some of these players. And, it's when you have names like that and players like that, it's tough to get in. And so I struggled. But the training, we have these types of players in your team and, like, in your environment, it was great. And, you improve so much every single day coming in and training with these types of players and getting better and better. And, that was like really, really beneficial for me because of that. And I was able to work out a way to stay there and train with them sometimes, but then go play games with the team I was with the last season. So I would I was able to drive down at the end of the week and train a session and play a game with that team. They were low in the relegation zone and they needed the help, and they were able to make a deal like that for me. And it was really, really good. I was confident. I was training with these better players. I was able to score goals. I was just in a right frame of mind. I was just like, I'm getting to play again. And I've been training with this group and stuff like that. And you could see the benefits of it. And it worked out really well for both of us. And at the end of the season, I was kind of like still frustrated because I was like, I felt that I was able to play here. I was able to do this, and it didn't work out. I was like, maybe I can try and go back to Sweden this next season and see if I can do something different, like different environment, all these sort of things. And I went to Nyköping Beast, which was, I believe you played there as well, right?
Yeah, I played there.
Yeah. So I went there. You know, I was an American coach there. You know, ambitious club. They always send their players to a higher club. They get bought from bigger clubs in Sweden. I was like, this is the right situation for me. And it was, again, like I had left in Finland. It was a great training environment. A lot of players from the top level in Sweden that were kind of like just, you know, kind of like rebuilding their careers or like had played, you know, at that level. And trainings were really good. You know, the coach let us play in training, let us go at it, like just like it was intense training. You always got something out of it. I felt one of my biggest pet peeves is when coaches overcoach and they put, you know, 1,000 cones on the pitch and you have to follow so many directions, and it's like there's a reason I dropped out of school and went to go play football is because I didn't want to follow all these like mathematic patterns and stuff like that. And
Brian's a good coach, man. Good coach.
No doubt. I really like Brian. I actually really like Brian, and I thought he was great in terms of like man management and stuff.
Yes.
Because I thought, like, you know, he had that American personality of like being able to talk and like friendly and stuff like that, but also was firm, and like he had the respect of the players. You know what I mean?
Yes. And he knows his tactics, man. You know, I learned a lot from him about tactics. Yeah.
Puts a lot of work in.
That's something that I always talk about with, you know, one of my best friends. I don't know if he was there with you, Samuel Kroon. He's playing at Halmstad now.
I know who he is. He was at Umeå when I went there though, but I know who he is. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, we always talk about like those coaches who always want to learn, you know, and that's the thing with Brian. Like he's a student, you know, he's a coach, but he's still a student of the game. Always wants to learn and get better, and I think those are the best coaches for players who want to get better.
Yeah, and I couldn't say a bad thing about Brian. Like he's really, really a good coach, and he saw my ability and, you know, like my qualities, and unfortunately with how the team was playing and the way that we needed to press and defend and stuff like that, I wasn't at the level the defensive level to like defend well enough for what he wanted in his system. And, you know, we were losing games, and I found myself out of the lineup. And, you know, it was tough, but like, you know, like I said, Brian was a good coach of man management and being able to say like, hey, like none of this has to do with like my lack of belief in your like abilities. I know all these things you are good at, all these sort of things. And like being able to have those talks with him like frequently and stuff like that, having a coach that knew how to like manage players.
Of course.
Really.
No, it's part of the game.
Right.
And something also to point out, like that I think a lot of people don't see, especially in the U.S., is like when you like you said, I think the coach, especially when you're in a smaller town, the coach needs to gain the respect and the trust of the local players. So if he puts a foreign guy in there, it puts him at risk. So like you said, that's part of the game.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, it was for me, I was like, okay, I'm in this situation. What do I need to do to get out of it? Like, you know, it's like you didn't come all the way here from, you know, United States or wherever you're from. It's like you didn't come to this situation for nothing. You didn't go all through all these sort of things. You don't just like, oh, I'll just take it now, and so I'll just, you know, this is it. It's like, okay, so we train in the evening. Can I get into the locker room and get balls and go train in the morning? Can I get an extra session in? Can I get in the gym? He wants me to be more physically developed. Can I get in the gym? What can I do? Can I do research on like ways to, you know, get better, like my nutrition, whatever it is, like and so that's kind of what I did. I just like, you know, like just like, okay, I need to show him that I'm able to play. And
that solution-based mindset. I think, you know, you always have two options. Like you said, you could either throw the towel in or you say, all right, I'm in this tough situation.
Right.
What can I do to fix this problem? And I think, there's two options, and, the solution-based option is always the right one, because it leads you to, like we talked about in the beginning, there's always going to be highs and lows, and you can either learn from it or throw the towel
in. Right. For sure. I totally agree with you. It's like, I think I don't know if it's just like the situation was just like, what are you gonna do about it? Like, you're gonna sit there and just like be frustrated and wait all day until you have training in the evening, and then like you go there and then you train, but then like on the weekend comes, you're not getting a chance, and it's like you got to change something. Like you got to do something about it, and it's like, even if it's for your own pride, like you got to work and try and like change something. You got to change something, or else you're just gonna your situation is not going to change. And so, I started doing all that training and stuff like that, and it definitely helped. And, my chances to play were like in this local cup type thing, the chances I got. And I remember we ended up winning the cup, and I was the top goal scorer. I was just like, I was just like, my chances I got, I was ready to go. I did all that extra training, and like, I was going to prove to him, or whoever's watching, you know what I mean? You talk about Kobe. That one of the things I remember hearing is that, or either from him or his trainer, I think it might have been his trainer, said like, why doesn't he ever take a rest day? Why doesn't he ever take one, like not like when he's hurt or something, not play a match, or, and it was like, because what about those people that like had never seen me play, or had come all this way to see me play for the first time? Like, there's always going to be someone watching that's never seen you play before, and like, out of your own personal pride, maybe you got to show them that like, I can play, I can do this. Like, it's that sort of attitude, and I kind of love that attitude of just like, there's always going to be someone that's never seen you play. Like, show them who you are. And I think that that mentality is a great thing to have. And I think it just helps you improve. Like, I think that season ended, and life goes on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's another season coming up. Like, and like that mentality of, I'm going to do the extra training, I'm going to work for this. How much tiny like percent did you get better from just doing all that extra work and stuff like that? And like, also the knowledge that you can put in that extra work, that you have what it takes to do that. You can prove it to yourself, that self-belief, all that sort of thing. That all comes from that, just like that struggle and being able to fight through it. And, but yeah, it was an aspect, another tough, like, you talk about the ups and downs, like that was a down for sure. That was a low. But like, I turned it into a positive at the end of it. And I ended up making a move back to Finland in the second tier that I had failed to play at the season prior. And, it was in a same town, Vasa. But in a club that was VPS, which is the like historical like club in Finland. It had just gotten relegated from the first tier, and the professional environment, nice locker room, you have trainers, you have beautiful stadium, like all these sort of things you want from the professional game and stuff like that. And I went into that situation. I was like, I'm going to take any opportunity I can. I'm not going to let what happened last season happen to me again. I'm going to fight all these obstacles, all these sort of things. And, that was right when the quarantine, like COVID hit and stuff like that. So the first half of the year, we were all just sitting doing nothing. And like in our situation, it's like, we're not at home. We're like, we're out in the middle of a place, that's we don't know much. We can't do much, like all these sort of things. Thankfully I had my girlfriend on on FaceTime every single day just to help make it better. She's like, like super, a super supportive girl, and just like, to help me through all that sort of stuff, because it's tough just without football, and being in a place you don't know and stuff like that. And but when it finally ended, I was so mentally ready to go and seize this opportunity. And I remember going to train, and the coach was basically like, we have good wingers, attacking players, which is what I had been my whole life as a left winger, right winger, left-footed, tricky, like to go 1v1 with players and, cross or shoot or whatever. And he was like, we have tricky, fast wingers and stuff like that, but we have no one to play left back, and you're left-footed, and it's like, maybe we'll try you there and stuff like that. And maybe in previous seasons I would have been like, but I'm a winger, like I would have, you know what I mean? But because I had been through the struggle of like, not getting the opportunity, but as soon as I got this opportunity, like, yeah, I'll give it a go, I'll try. And I ended up playing every single game from the start that season at left back, and we did pretty well. We didn't achieve our goals of getting promoted again, but for me, it was a first season as that position, and I felt that I had achieved something really positive. I talking about before, like how I felt that Brian, or like I didn't have what it takes defensively and for him at that club or whatever. I went and played the next season as a defender and started every single game, and and just like it's. And like nothing, like I said, nothing against Brian, but I was like, did I have something to prove against him, to myself, or whatever?
Yeah.
Like, and go do that. And it was a really good season for me in terms of like, just I hadn't had that consistent play every game, start every match, like confidence and fitness and everything. I hadn't had that, in my professional career yet, and I was ready to, like I say, like make it the next step, like try and make this step up every single time and see if I can find a way to make it a positive every single year and like move up. And, and then went back home after the season and, doing my training and stuff like that, and was like, all right, I'm going to make a move now to the top tier in Finland. I'm going to do that. That's what I want to play at the top tier in Finland. And I've done well last year. I've done what it takes to earn a contract at one of these teams, whatever. And, because of COVID, they weren't allowing Americans into the country for the first half of the year. And so it was really, really tough for me, because I was like, all right, now what am I doing? I had this whole plan. I'm going back to Finland and stuff like that. Now it's late in the year, or like, it's March, April or whatever. And it's like, okay, season's about to start there. Season's about to start here in America with the USL and whatnot. Like, I can't really get in places that, I was able to go on trial, in one place in the USL, and they had their team set. It was like, you know what I mean? They wanted me to stay longer, and it was just like, it's not, I can't see it working out here and stuff like that. It was just, too late to do this sort of thing. And, felt I had missed an opportunity, and like, what was I going to do? Was I have to make a step back that I really didn't want to make? But I was ready to do that. I was ready to go to a country I've never heard of, or like, to a league that was I felt way below what I was worth. And thankfully, the ban for Americans got lifted in Finland, and so I was able to get back over here, and I signed for this team, KTP,
Awesome.
who is in a struggling place lower in the table when I showed up, and halfway through the season. So it's like it's a tough situation for me to like, catch up as soon as possible, and you get thrust into the lineup, like tons of injuries, all these sort of things. You got to learn your teammates, like who you're playing with, all these sort of things. And you're also in a position where like the morale of the team is low, because they're low on the table and fighting for relegation and all these sort of things. And, you got to come in and be on it like that. And it's been tough, and, but I think all of us here are taking it day by day. And actually, I was talking about with you earlier, we just had quarantine, we had a COVID situation on our team. So, thankfully, we're almost out of that, but it's actually, we're in a tough situation as a team, and hopefully we can use this, time to like, kind of get a mental break and get back in and fight towards the end of the season. But yeah, anyway, that's
what a journey, man.
An hour long. Yeah.
No, it's been
of my journey.
Great one.
Yeah.
Great journey. So having the whole you've been in Finland? Because I personally get a lot of questions from guys and people about how do you network, things like that. And personally, I always, I either say an agent, but I think the best thing is always a personal connection. A guy on the team, a guy in the club. You don't have to share who your agent is, but just a little bit about that networking, because you seem to make some nice jumps.
Yeah. I talk about networking and stuff like that. Just like people, like I said back in when I was trying to come to Europe, I was I had a connection in Chicago, and I basically talked to them and say, I'm trying to go to Europe. Who do you guys have an agent you guys use in Europe that helps you out when you guys go over there, like, and try and help players? Yeah, this is his contact. So you give him an email, send him an email or something, like, see if he's interested. And you're basically just cold calling an agent, and it's like, as a 20-year-old, 21-year-old, or whatever I was, it was not much of a resume. Just like the only connection is that we know that we both know each other, or like know that we have a mutual friend or whatever. And so like just was able to get connected, and I had to go over there and kind of earn his like interest. And I had to go trial with this club. He got me one trial in the town he lives in. It's like as minimal work as he could possibly put in. Hey, yeah, I know that I'm good friends with the club here. I live next to him, whatever. Like, I'll just like, hey, I got an American kid coming, and let him train with you guys for a couple of days and see how he is, so I can see him and you guys can see him. And it was just like done deal. And go from that, and just making the connections of like, you have a lot in Finland. It's such a small country, and then as sure as this, by the fact that we both played for the same team at some point. Football is such a small world. Like, it's such a small world, and like, you run into players that have played with this guy or played in this team, and like all the time. You guys both know. You often have a lot of teammates that have played with someone or like know someone and so like I think a benefit of being outgoing and friendly and stuff like that is that you make these connections easily. 100%. And you know what I mean? And I think one of the good parts about, like, especially players and stuff in the football business, is that they're always willing to help out another player. I think they're always willing to, yeah, sure, I know, I got an agent. Here's his email. Send him an email. See if he wants to work with you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, send him your stuff, your resume, whatever, your CV, your video, everything. Like, send him all that stuff, and just say that Ian gave me your contact or whatever, and just like see what happens. I think that there's a lot of players and stuff like that in football that you meet that are more than willing to help out fellow players. I think you kind of all are in the same boat at some point, and so 100%. You kind of understand. But yeah.
No, great point. And I think, like you said in the beginning, just taking the jump. I think the first thing, like you said, that agent, he said, if you get yourself here, if you pay for the ticket and you're on ground, I'll help you out. And I think that's a huge part, like, especially when you're in the US and you're searching for European opportunities. It's hard to email agents, call agents from the US. It's just about getting yourself there. Get yourself there, and then those agents or those people will be willing to meet with you. And I'm sure you've realized, but what I've realized over my time playing in Europe is Europeans like to sit down. They like to sit eye to eye with a coffee or whatever it is and talk over things. They don't really like talking over the phone. So I think, getting over there is like the most important step. Obviously, you have to have the quality, but.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you're totally right. I think about the whole, like, it's difficult for American players to get into Europe. It's just like I was saying, I think, I've actually been trying to make a sort of like be part of a combine type thing in America, where we're trying to connect the combine directly with an agency, and so they get these players that have worked to Europe. It's just in the beginning stages called a Sen Soccer combine, but it's for that whole idea, and of just like it's not easy to make those connections and get over to Europe. But I think you're totally right in terms of like, I think Americans and like the way things go in America, it's like 100 miles an hour. It's like business. It's like, you know what I mean? hey, I got a meeting this afternoon. I'll give you a call or whatever. Like, let's talk over the phone later today. Like that sort of thing. And, I think in Europe, everything is slowed down and like
Yes.
it's more free flowing and just kind of like, oh yeah, let's go. Let's take a break from work. Let's go, get a coffee. Let's whatever, talk. Like, just like it's kind of that mentality. And, I think
it really helps your decision making. What I've noticed
mm-hmm.
is like that slowing down process you make better decisions. You're not in a rush. You're not in a rush to get somewhere or go somewhere. So you have time to think
Mm-hmm.
about things.
Yeah. I agree with you. It's, you definitely, I think the whole like mindset of being in Europe, I kind of noticed that. I think you just like, you take a second and you relax and like, you kind of, you let yourself live a little bit. And I think that comes from just being in this environment altogether. So I agree with you.
For sure. And I think actually one of the biggest things that Americans have, quote, an advantage over, not over Europeans, but I think we bring that excellent work ethic and that speed and that rush and that mindset over here. Europe, balances you out, slows you down a little bit, but you still have that in you. And I think if you can use that to your advantage as an American, you can show that work rate, that energy, that leadership. I think that you really have an advantage in Europe.
Yeah, I agree with you for sure. And even when it comes to like what we're talking about, like, the speed of like, that work ethic, everything, I think, I find myself getting so frustrated still in this American mindset of like, I've sent an email. Why hasn't it been returned today? Or like, you know what I mean? Like,
same, man.
Oh, it's the weekend. We got to wait till the Monday or whatever till, we can do anything again. And I'm like, what? Like, that doesn't make sense. Just send an email. And it's, I'm joking a little bit, of course, but like, it's true. Like, you kind of, everything's a little bit slowed down and everything. But I think the mentality of, hard work and just like trying to get things done and all that sort of stuff it does come from that like American mindset. I think it also, someone asked me about this as well a few years ago. I think it had to do with like, you're in a country of, over 300 million or whatever it is in America. Like it's everybody is all in, like all trying to do something. Everybody's all trying to get somewhere. They all have a goal, a dream, stuff like that. And you got to fight for it. You got to work for it. You got to do it. And it's kind of American, like the American dream or whatever, you know what I mean? You got to work for it. And I think that's going to be a good thing, especially when you come into an environment where that's not so the mentality.
Exactly. No, it's a great point. I think there was a meme going around. I forgot what it was exactly, but it was something like the difference between an American during summer and a European. And like the American side was, just get out of kidney surgery. I'll get back to you in 6 hours. And then like the Europeans, like, I'm on vacation. I'll get back to you in 3 months. So it's like,
right. Yeah, exactly. You take in Europe, you take the entire month of August off. Like business is just shut down for the entire month of August. And it's like, what do you mean? Like you can't just shut down for an entire month. It's like, oh yeah, we can. That's what we do. But
absolutely. But yeah, man, I don't want to keep you for any longer. I appreciate you taking the time. If you could just end off, give us some, the youngsters, people who are trying to chase their first professional contract or get back into the game after being a free agent. If you could give your top 2 to 3 tips for anyone looking to get to the next level, what would they be?
I mean, I'll kind of reiterate what I said earlier, like you never know when your next opportunity is going to come from, where it's going to like when it's going to come and where it's going to come from. And you got to be ready to take it. Like you
love that. Whether
it means like mentally, I'm gonna like you said, jump in, like I'm gonna just go for it. Also, but like ready in terms of like it's so tough mentally to just like every single day, like in quarantine or something, to go every single day and train on your own, and you know what I mean, and go to the gym or whatever, eat right, all these sort of things. When you have you never know when the end is, but you got to be ready when you get that chance to just jump in and go for it. And that means physically and mentally. I'd say also that knock down every door, or or knocking every door, like just
like that.
You know what I mean? Like there's no harm in sending a DM to someone that you think might be able to help you out, or an email or something like that. because literally the worst that can happen is they can say no or not respond. That is the worst thing that, that can happen.
Love that.
And you're in the same place you were before, and then you're not gonna go further away from your goal from that. I think that was two, but I don't know. That's the two main ones I'd say. It's just like, you know, for sure, go for it, and, you know, knock on every door.
I like that first one, you know, and I always say stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And I think we both know in the football world, as much as we were talking about how things go slowly in Europe, in the football world, you can be waiting around for 3, 4, 5 months, not have anything. And you can either choose to put the work in, stay fit, or you can, you know, like say, oh, I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't see an opportunity. So those are your two options. And then the thing with football is, as we both know, you can all of a sudden the next week, after 5 months of not hearing anything, you have 4 opportunities. And then you go back and you're like, damn, I should have stayed fit. And I want to point that out to everyone. Just that's the hardest. I think that's one of the hardest parts, staying fit and being mentally strong to keep yourself in the game.
Right. I couldn't agree more. Just be ready. You never know when it's going to happen. So.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. Thanks so much for coming on. Stay healthy out there with that COVID situation. And yeah, man, where can people find you if they want to reach out? Instagram?
Oh, yeah. Instagram is probably the best place. It's just my name, IANGARRETT, and then an extra T on the end. Ian Garrett. So you can give me a follow. I'm usually good at responding to DMs and stuff like that. So if you guys have any questions, hit me up.
Awesome.
But yeah, thanks for having me on, and nice talking to you, man.
Awesome, brother. Good luck. We'll chat soon.
All right, thanks.
All right, brother. Peace.